guest today is comedian Zack Lyman. How you doing, Zack?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. So we used to be a part of this community. It was called Blab, and that's how I had a chance to meet you. You were one of the blabbers that would come on all the time, and
Yeah.
we had a lot of really cool conversations while you were on Blab, and we talked a lot about the fact that you were a comedian. So I always wanted to get you to come on the show and talk about what you do, but you also are a podcaster as well. So
Yes.
let's first start off with the comedian side. Everybody, we all think we're funny, right? At times,
Mm-hmm.
right? It could be at the cookout. It could be when you're 5 years old, you make mama laugh. It could be when you're on a date with your girl, right? You crack jokes. So what was it? So we all think we're funny at times. What made you go, Zack? You know what? I'm funny, but I want to get up on stage and be funny as well.
I think it was just disillusion, man. Very. I always thought that I was funny, and when I was like 14, 15, I took a test in high school that told me what I should do for a living, and entertainment was the top choice. And my teacher was like, "Don't go to college, just be funny." And I was like, "I don't know what that means." And then, I don't know, I was watching a lot of stand-up, and I was like, I think I could do that. I think I have stories. And I think back now, and that's like a really weird thing to say, because I never talked to anyone. Like, I was the quiet kid. I kept the jokes to myself, all the stories to myself. But for some reason, I thought I could go on stage and do it. And the first time I did it, I was hooked. And so ever since, I've just been doing it.
It is like a drug, right? Going up on stage and entertaining people, and making people laugh. I mean, what's interesting too is that you sometimes comedians or whatnot. You could be the difference of someone's day sucking, or being or being better, right? With your comedy.
Yeah.
And that might be a lot of pressure for some. What do you think about that? That listening to you on stage, you might be the difference between the news for some people.
Yeah, and I think like especially when you go to the open mics and you're with a bunch of other comics that are working stuff out, and it's their type of venting, and they're trying to get stuff off their chest. And it's not always funny, but maybe watching you do some silly bits or doing something makes them feel better. So you're helping other comics, and then also you're helping the audience. And I try to keep that in mind when I perform, is that it is a show, that I am doing this to entertain. And I feel like a lot of people forget that because they just want to do the craft, and they want to do their jokes, boom, boom, boom. And they forget that there are audiences,
Now let's talk about material. Like, where does your material generally come
from? Man, in the last couple of years, it's really been like life situations, like what I've been going through in my life, and I've had a lot happen in the last couple of years. And my material always wasn't like that. It used to be kind of like more fun, more silly, and I still have a little bit of that. Of just like off the wall type of humor, but then also lately it's been a lot of like storytelling and really crafting it that way. And because I feel comfortable being a storyteller, and so I feel the stories of my life are relatable in a lot of ways. So it's mostly that now.
So if you are dating someone or your friends, is it possible, just possible, they may end up in a bit on stage?
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's like, remind me to never have lunch with you or anything.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Like, It's like, I'm going to be busy when you call. It's like, sorry, can't do it.
We're sharing a group discussion with them. We're already screw gang.
Yeah, exactly. No, like great example. I about 3 months ago hired a personal trainer.
Uh-oh.
And he's already in my stand-up. Like he's already, and he he hasn't heard it yet. But the other day we were working out, and he's like, "You ever bring me up?" And I'm like, "Sometimes, maybe. I don't, like trying to play it off, like, not really, But no, there's like a whole 5 minutes right now that I'm working on him,
Yeah, one of these days you go back there, he's going to say, today we're working with the 300-pound weights.
Yeah, no, that's really.
Then you'll know he's part of your act.
Yeah.
Did you hire him for the material?
But yeah, I mean, it happens with everyone though, right? Like it happens, like I like right now, in last November I went through a major breakup, and so I talk about that, and I'm working on bits about that, and it's so sometimes it's past tense, sometimes they don't know that they're in it yet, or maybe they've left my life in some way. So now, but they'll hear it later on, TV. But
so does that mean that we're going to wind up in your act somewhere because you were trying to get somewhere so you could do the show, and you had to like move around the parking lot till you could?
Maybe you're gonna have to watch the next 6 months, see what happens.
Man.
Just working, It's like whatever pops in.
Now people don't understand, like. A minute on stage can be an eternity, right? So to have like 5-10 good minutes to start out your career is like a big step, right? To have, a good 5-10 minutes, 15 minutes, you work your way up. When did you know you had like a good 15-20 minutes, like in the beginning of your career? Like when did you really feel it?
Well, there's like two answers to this, right? Because when you're 2 years in, or even like a year in, you think you have 20 minutes of just the greatest material, and you think you're like, oh, this stuff kills, it works everywhere, and that's like 2 years in, you're like thinking like that, or maybe a year, you think you at least have 5 to 15 or whatever, and so you feel like that, but then every time you take a giant step in stand-up, it's like you can see it on paper. You can see, you can look at a joke that you're like, this was my best joke last year, and now it's my weakest joke this year. And that's how it goes. So, when I meet comics that are like 7-8 months in, and they're telling me they're doing a 15-minute set this weekend, I'm like, how much of that are you dragging out? How much is like actual meat versus fat? And so it comes down to like where your perspective is in your mind, because I'm almost 10 years in, and I just now feel comfortable like telling people that I do an hour, like it was like secretly I was booking things for years of like, yep, just if they had the money, I'll do it. And then run out of there, but now I'm like, yeah, no, that's what I do. Like,
so 10 years in, so you started when you were 10.
I was like, oh man, no, but really, comics are getting younger, man. Like I was the young guy when I started, and I'm still one of the younger guys. But in Phoenix here, we have there's a 7th grader that goes to some of the open mics.
Oh, wow!
And then one of the best comics we have here just turned 18. He's seriously one of the funniest comics locally.
Wow.
And he just turned 8. And I'm like,
wow,
if only I can be that good at 18, or like the 7th grader where he's even writing jokes. And I'm like, how? Like I wasn't even on that plan yet, So I thought I started young, but obviously not young enough.
Do you have, when you're doing your set, do you have much trouble with hecklers? And if you do get a heckler, do you bring them into the set a little bit, or you try to shut them down, or what do you do?
Uh-oh.
The heckler question got him like the Santa Claus did. Uh-oh.
I know, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we're having a little technical difficulties. So we're going to try to bring him right back.
Now that's one way to handle a heckler. I mean, you just freeze frame it and you just buck.
All right, working on it. All right, there we go. Hecklers.
Am I back?
Yeah, we lost you for a minute. So you were talking about how you handle hecklers.
Yeah, like like if you control the room and you seem focused, a lot of times they won't mess with you, and so I don't get a lot of it. But especially if you seem scared or something, or you seem like you're new.
Uh-oh.
And so when I do get a heckler, though, I handle it with I either will see what it's about and kind of like investigate a little bit, and then either if
we're having a little technical difficulty. Let's try. We'll try to bring him back in. All right. Sorry about that. He's getting heckled by this internet. Huh?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of fun too. You see people walking past the car going, "Why is he talking to his dashboard?"
I know, right? This guy is crazy. Yes. Yeah.
Since he's like in and out, you know what he's going to do. It's like we're going to wind up in his set sometime. It's like, I was trying to do this, and we were talking about hecklers, and this is how I handle a heckler. I just freeze frame it.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. Let's try him one more time. Oh, just to let people know, this Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern, we will be starting season 4 of Men and Women Talk the Mars Venus show. Our topic will be the friend zone, and I have a new co-host, Rasheem. So we're looking forward to that. All right, so Zach, are you back? Zach?
Yeah.
Right. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so you said you're going to investigate the hecklers. Golly. It's so funny.
Is it me or?
Yeah, like I don't know for you guys. Like I no longer see him. Let's try him again.
I saw him, but he was kind of like on Mars trying to communicate.
So Monday, make sure you guys come. We're going to be talking about the friend zone, the dreaded friend zone. Nobody wants to be put in. So that is Monday's show right here on indieradio.org. All right. Welcome back, Zach.
Am I in?
Yep.
Is everything good?
Yes.
We see it.
All right. So you said you investigate.
Yeah. So am I here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So sometimes I'll investigate and just see like if it's just a drunk guy or if it's something like what the situation is. If it's a disturbance or and then I can pull back and do my bits, or I can investigate that more. And the fun thing about having the microphone and they don't is I can repeat back a different version of what they said to the audience. And then I can be like, so then I can fit it more into what I need. And then I've used that moment to also go into a bit that I didn't plan. If they're all of a sudden they're like talking about something about traffic, and I go, oh yeah, that is the worst. And then I go into a traffic bit, and everyone thinks that it's like this new thing, And then and then I end up doing that, and then I can go on with my act and finish, So it's it depends on the situation. But.
Do you like crowd work in general? Just going with the audience, or are you strictly? I have material. I'm gonna do the material, and I don't really want to do that.
I think crowd work's like a special kind of guy. Like they're.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're having a little technical difficulties with Zach's Wi-Fi, so please bear with us as we are working it out.
I see people.
So that's the one thing. Sometimes God hates us. He's getting heckled by the universe.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, all right. So we're gonna get him back. We're gonna get in this interview.
And the universe keeps taking its microphone away.
It's like, hey, maybe he paid his phone bill, and the cell maybe he paid his cell phone bill, and that's what's happening. They're cutting
Yeah,
his service.
yeah. Just like me last week.
Because he's one of them responsible people that actually pays their bill on time and everything, and they're probably cutting him off because he dared to actually pay his bill on time and in full.
Mm-hmm. All right, and so please bear with us as we are working on getting our guests back. All right, here we go, Zach. Crowd work. Crowd work.
Yes. Yes, we see you. Yes.
All right, can you hear us, Zach?
Oh no! Am I back?
Yes, you're
Yeah.
back.
You're back.
You've been back for a minute.
Yeah, I'm really I'm giving this app a real run for its money. I'm like this yeah. So but yeah, it's like some people are really good at it, and then there's me that I have my stories, and I for a long time was scared if anyone would interrupt my story, and now I feel comfortable where I can do whatever needs to be done, but I don't go for it. If I see something weird in the audience, I'll take care of it, but besides that, I don't. I'm not the guy that's like, oh, what's your name? Where are you from?
Right.
Like right off the bat.
Yeah, I remember seeing Robin Williams on an interview with Dick Cavett one time, and Dick Cavett asked him if he ever had a problem with hecklers, and he said he was at the Improv, doing improv, and he did about 30 minutes just riffing on all this improvisation, and some guy in the front finally said, "When are you going to do some material?" And he just looked at him and said, "As soon as you think this is funny."
Now let's talk about influences. Who are some of your comedic influences coming up?
I love Louis, and I love Steve Martin, and like I was just talking about, like obviously Gene Wilder just passed,
right?
And that was like, he was a big one for me. I've watched Young Frankenstein a million times.
It never gets old.
And so like, just so funny. I guess hilarious. So like.
Okay. All right, we're having technical difficulties. Okay, Zach, this is what we're going to do. We are going to ask Zach to get to his location, and what we'll do is we'll get to the next part of the show, and we'll have him come in on the end, and we'll try to continue the interview. So if Zach, Zach is back. All right, Zach is back.
Hello.
All right.
Hey, what's going on?
So let's do this properly, Zach.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm so sorry about earlier. I didn't realize I was, it was a test run, I guess, on the app.
Hey, that's so. For those who didn't catch the beginning of the show, we are talking with Zack Lyman, who is a stand-up comedian and a fellow podcaster, and we were talking about the business of stand-up comedy, and we talked about hecklers and doing crowd work and coming up with material, as well as there's one thing too I want to talk about. Is how was it received when you came out the "I want to be a comedian" closet to your family? How did they take it? Were they nervous? Were they scared? Did they try to talk you into getting a job at the post office? Like, what happened there?
So my family's split on this, right? Like I have family that's like supportive and they love it, and they're all about it and they brag about it, and then I have family until most recently. Was like, how is college? Like, where are you going in life? Like, type of attitude until like recently. And I think like when you get close to the 10-year mark is when people are like, oh, he's probably really gonna do this, he's kind of committed at this point. So yeah, but like they always, I have family that's like they're worried about my backup plan, and then I have family that loves it. So from the beginning though, it was kind of split from the beginning. Like right away when I told people, like I want to do this, I was terrible at it too. So I understand why they would, like I was terrible. Why would you want that person to keep doing that? So,
Right.
I get it.
Right. So what is the reaction for the opposite sex? Like when you meet a woman and she goes, so what do you do? Do you come out and say I'm a stand-up comedian, or like do you just come out and say it, or do you beat around the bush, and what's their response?
I've beat around the bush. I have. I definitely, because I've it's like a trial run, right? Like you're talking to a girl, things are going well, and then I'm like, I'll drop the bomb, I'll be like, I'm a comedian. And I've had girls respond with, oh, you're broke. And I'm like, yeah.
Wow. Hate.
Yeah. Like,
but I won't be when I put you in my show next week.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's funny.
So it gets mixed reviews. The girl I'm seeing right now is actually a fellow comedian.
Cool.
So like we.
Oh, so she's broke too.
Yeah, we're just broke.
Broke together. You broke, but you got jokes.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's cool.
We're both like checking our bank account 20 times a day, like just hoping for the best every day. But yeah, no, it's it can get confusing. And like I was in a relationship with someone that didn't like comedy before, and I've been now in a relationship with someone that enjoys comedy so much that they do it. So it's strange. I feel like I've lost friends over time from it, So.
Oh wow! So it really is like coming out of the closet in a way.
Yeah. There's some of my friends that are like, he's still wasting his life. They're not my friends anymore, but they're like, it's weird. It's like you said, it's like coming out of the closet of comedy, and you don't know what people are gonna respond.
I picture it like, do you ever see X-Men 2, where the mutant is like coming out to his family that he's a mutant? It's like it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
I know the way you're talking about. I get this vision of him. You go. I have to tell you, I'm a comedian, and I'm gay. Oh God, he's a comedian. Where did we go wrong?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, especially nowadays. I feel like it's just this weird thing. It's weird. It's like but I do remember sitting down with my family at like 15 and being like, I think this is what I want to do. And they were like, are you sure? Like
That's funny.
So to be a comedian, you have to be funny, right?
Like, yeah, I think you're missing the main part of it. I think that's
Now I know one thing that funny people in general, whether they're a comedy writer or a stand-up comedian, they often get the, oh, so you're a comedian? Well, then say something funny.
Yes, the classic. Tell me a joke. I hate it so much. I've written jokes about it, and my favorite response now is just it was actually brought up on a friend's podcast. And he used my example because he loved it so much. So it's like getting around now. There was a situation. I was with a new comic who's been doing it less than a year. We're at a coffee shop. I'm giving him advice. We're having some coffee, having a good time. A guy approaches us and says, what do you do? And I always go with, I'm a banker, because that just stops the conversation. No one cares about bankers. So I go, so before I can say those words, he excitedly goes, we're comedians. And I just like give him a death glare, like, what are you doing? Because then he's like, we're outside, and he's like smoking a cigarette, and he's like, all right, well, tell me a couple jokes then. Like, and I just instantly go, well, how much money do you have? And he's like, I'm like, all right, then, like, let's not do this interaction, like, don't make me do this.
That is so funny. It's like, yeah, I've seen it. I've seen people do that, and I'm just like, oh God, that's crazy. So, a couple of more questions about being a comedian. Then I want to transition to something, and then we get to your podcast.
Okay.
Now, one thing is comedians sometimes will help other comedians in different ways. Like I've heard that, I've seen comedians that you'll tell a joke or you'll say a joke, and then another comedian will give you a little something, or maybe that might help you.
Yeah, like a tag
little bit
or something.
Right. Now, are you someone that has received that and has also done that, or do you feel like it's a community and then you guys help each other out, or are you just constantly like, nah, man, I'm good luck with that, homie?
I think there's like two ways about it, right? Like I feel like when I travel and I'm in someone else's domain, right? Like these comedians have their life, and I'm there visiting, So I always feel like it's a good way to be like at the open mics or at a show or whatever, to like approach someone and be like, hey, I thought of something funny for you for when you said that one joke I really enjoyed. What if you said it this way, or you did this? I feel like that's a good like meeting ground, right? Because then if they're like you said, they're like, no, I'm good. Then you're like, okay, so that's not the guy. I'm not gonna hang out with that guy. Like he's not the open friendly guy. So yeah, but it's like it's a good meeting ground, and I do it all the time. Like if I randomly, it's just when it comes to me. If I think of something really good, I'll give it to anyone, And I've gotten suggestions, and it's like I'm kind of like setting my path though. Like I know my voice, so sometimes I get suggestions, and I'm like, that's really funny, but it just doesn't fit the rest of my act. So like it depends, but I take in all suggestions. I take it all in because you don't know what you're gonna get.
Do you ever have like the uncle or the mailman or somebody who's like, oh, you're a comedian? You know what? You should use this joke for your act, and it's like some corny shit, or maybe it's even good. Do you ever have those experiences?
Well, I'll tell you, like, kind of like that is like, so obviously, I mean, I've gotten my hair cut before, and they found out like the banker thing only lasted so long, and now I got to tell them what I really do. And they'll like, cut my hair, and they're like, my cat does funny things. And I'm like, I don't care. Like I get that a lot. I do. Like I'll just be out somewhere, and they're like, oh, this happened. You should use this. And but then also like like recently I've been telling a story that's like I made it personal about me, and it was actually someone else's story that I worked with years ago. I worked with this guy, and he worked at a gas station that was robbed, and then I asked him, I was like, would you mind if I told that as like a story that happened? He's like, no, go ahead. So it's like he told me the story just out of like friendship about this like horrible experience, and I was like, oh man, that's actually really funny. Like let me turn that into something I can use. And so now I tell it as if I worked at the gas station. And so it's like sometimes like you just don't know where you're going to get stuff,
That's funny. That's the only thing too, though, is like you're pouring your soul to your buddy's act, the comedian, and then next thing you know, your soul is on stage and you're getting laughs. It's kind of funny, but some people I can only imagine may not take it as well, or are they just happy to be used?
I've never, because I feel like I barely. I'm never like, so Jessica, or anything.
Right.
Like, I'm never name calling, so like I never really get anything. I've had past girlfriends be like, please don't. Like, like I heard you say this thing, and everything else is great, but leave that part out. Like I've been censored sometimes, and so that's about it. Besides that, my friends are mostly all comedians, so they don't care.
That's dope. All right. So another thing too, we used to talk a lot on Blab, and we did have our love of comedy we had in common, but also our love of food.
Oh yeah.
You are a foodie,
yeah,
and also I think we're all foodies too, probably in this in this conversation. But also, you actually make and prepare food and sell it as well. So tell us a little bit about that.
So about over a year ago, like almost 2 years ago or something like that, I was like, how do I make money when I'm not at home? Like when I'm out doing comedy and I'm making money on the road, like what if I didn't have to call out of a job? What if I didn't have to do something? You know, like what if I was my own business, you know? And so I was doing freelance writing and all this other stuff. And I was like, I like that I can pick it up and go, you know, like whenever. And I was like, I wish I could do something like that with food. And then I decided to do a food cart. And so I started on a food cart and I was making grilled cheeses and I was just selling them at bars. And then when I would go on tour or whatever, I would pay a comic like $20 to run it a couple of nights, you know, like $20 a night or whatever to run it. And that was like, it was doing well. And I was making okay money and I was paying my bills and I was living off of stand-up mostly. You know, it was just the good fill-in money. And within the last year, I've actually doubled, or well, I guess quadrupled my business at this point. Is I now have 2 carts and then I have 2 food trucks. So I have a grilled cheese truck and then I have a smoothie snow cone truck. And it's kind of like still a recent development. So like the 2 carts are running. The food cart is about one of the food trucks, the red one, is about to hit the road, and then the smoothie one in like 2 weeks will hit the road. And so it's like still new, but I got like investors and now a team, and now it's a legit thing that's happening.
Congrats, man.
No. Oh, okay, he's still there.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
When are you coming to Kansas City?
Kansas City?
You said grilled cheese. You have my attention.
I was just in Kansas City.
What?
Yeah, telling jokes. Not like, I don't know, like maybe 8 months ago. It's been a little bit, but I was just there. And I always offer that if you see me at a comedy show, I most likely need a place to sleep, and I will make you grilled cheeses in trade. You know, like that's kind of like the deal I have. Like everyone's like, you say you have grilled cheese, but let me see this recipe. And I'm like, oh, I'll show you.
I was going to say, what is the secret behind a truly great grilled cheese?
There is secrets, and I don't mind sharing at all. I think cheese. I did a lot of research. I spent 6 months researching this before I opened. And so there's cheeses that have different melt temperatures, right? And that's why I always go with like a provolone or a Gouda, is because they have low melt temperatures. That's what gets it really gooey, you know? And then you got to think about the outside of your bread. You want crispy, you want compact, and you don't, like, the problem with so many places that sell grilled cheeses is that they're oily. You know, when I eat them, I really feel like I'm eating a mountain of oil, and it's because it's prepared with everything else at the exact same time, and it's not their specialty. You know, it's just a thing they offer. And the trick to that is a lot of them will put a bowl on top of it, and so then the steam on the flat top will then melt the cheese. They'll get it done quick. They can pass it out, you know. And I take the route of putting an actual steak weight on top. So the weight pushes in the heat, and it makes it more compact, makes it crispy, and cooks it, and the oils can leave out the sides. So, you know, you don't get all the oil trapped in your sandwich. So those are the main simple tricks you can do.
You know, I feel lazy now. All these years I've been making grilled cheese, and I've been cutting corners. And you know what? I'm going to step my grilled cheese game up.
Yeah, man.
Just listening to you. So I'm going to go back and make sure I have the secret ingredients, and I'm going to do my grilled cheese right. And I will put it on Instagram.
Oh.
Hey, Quinton, if you're going to do that, get yourself a good jar of the Dijon mustard, like the really good Dijon mustard. Put it on the inside of the bread between or on top of the cheese, and then grill it.
I agree. I was going to say, if you like mustard, you should do mustard. And if you like sriracha, add sriracha and mustard together on a grilled cheese. There's just something about it. I could eat that every day.
Yeah, man. I love grilled cheese.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny, though, but grilled cheese was, for the longest, something I would never buy out.
No.
But now it's like grilled cheese is different now. You know, it's like I've been places where it's not just a regular grilled cheese sandwich no more. Like, you know, so it's something now I think about getting when I'm out.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
Yeah.
Except that I just can't see spending $4.95 on a grilled cheese sandwich.
Depends though. If it's the bomb, I will pay for it.
Well, here's the thing.
Does it come with a side?
Does it come with a side? And also, I always offer different kinds of meats, and I usually have different kind of meat specials. And like right now, we're like for our grand opening, we're going to be doing like a pulled pork with like a brine recipe we've been working on. And so the pulled pork is going to be in the grilled cheese, and it's going to be it's a meal, you know, like that's when you buy it, you know. It's like I agree. Like if I'm paying $4, because I've tried every place locally, and every time I travel, I make sure if I can eat it, I'll have it, you know. So
that's funny though. Like you're stand-up comedian, and now you're getting known for grilled cheese as well. So usually, you know, if a comedian doesn't want to have cheesy to be concluded at all in their name, you know, at all. So you don't want to be known as the cheesy comedian unless you're breaking in the shows.
If anything, he would be the grilled cheese comedian.
The grilled cheese comedian. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I do think it's weird when I've traveled and like someone personally knows me, and I'll be like introduced at like a comedy club, and they like promote my grilled cheese business, and I'm like, yeah, that's like a different day, you know, like when they're like I'm about to tell 30 minutes of jokes, and they're gonna be like, oh, he just works some stand somewhere, you know, like you're gonna feel different about it. It's like there has to be some separation, like, you know, or like when people find out that I run a business, they also go, oh, that's where you make the money. Okay, we're worried about the comedy thing. So
you know what you should say is you shouldn't say that you have a grilled cheese stand. You should say I own a grilled cheese empire.
Yes.
You know, I'm the Walter White. I'm the Heisenberg of grilled cheese.
But when people introduce you on stage, that is not the route they go. They don't go, this guy is building an empire. He's adding trucks every month. No, they go the next comedian, your headliner for tonight is actually owns a grilled cheese business. Maybe he'll talk about it. Zack Lyman. And you're like, you're setting me up to fail.
Like thanks, asshole.
Your next step, of course, is to get a storefront so then you can be a grilled cheese restaurateur.
Yeah, man.
I don't know, man. When I first started, I was like, I'm gonna get an actual like storefront, and then like the money started coming in, and I'm like, I'm fine. You know, like I don't like. I was like, that seems like a lot of work.
You could open a grilled cheese comedy club, 2 sandwich minimum.
Jokes. Call it cheesy jokes. There you go.
Cheesy jokes. Yeah.
Maybe that's my front where I launder all the money through. You know.
Heisenberg. You know, Heisenberg. All right. So also you have a podcast. Let's talk about that. Tell us about your podcast, when you started, and what can we expect when we listen to it.
Okay. So I started. I originally started with a comic book podcast over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, and it got some traction. And it was just a comic and I, and we were just talking about comic books that we loved, and we were talking about TV shows, and just kind of like nerding out for an hour, having a good time. And the people seemed to like that. And so we ended up splitting our ways because of a shady contract that we had with a business. And so then I was like, I took some time off, and then I went on tour, and then I was like, man, I wish I could talk about like all the questions I get asked on tour. You know, like everywhere I go, people meet me and they go, you're young and you booked all this yourself and you're doing these things. Like how, you know? And I was like, man, I'm tired of like explaining all of it. What if I had kind of like a reference? And so that's how the podcast started, was actually just like a reference point that I could be like, well, you get to listen to my podcast and I tell you how to book a tour. I tell you how to do this. You know, and so I still do that. Like I still try to mention it in episodes. I interview a lot of guests, And it's since so many of them are comedians or they're in the comedy world of some sort, I try to like really like bring out like the simple basic facts, because when you listen to other comedy podcasts, they're like 20 years in and they even forgot what it's like to go to an open mic. They forgot. So I like talking to everyone. I've had people that are 25 years in, and I've had people that are like 7 months in, and we just it's a good time. It's about an hour. You can listen to it on iTunes and SoundCloud, and it's just Zack Lyman Podcast, because I want to make it easy for everyone to find. So
yeah, it makes it very easy. So do you get really in depth? Is it more, because I've heard some shows that were based on comedy, stand-up comedy, but it got like pretty like the WTF show, for example. Yeah. Like, it's a funny show, but sometimes you like, damn, I want to cry watching the show. So do you ever get real in depth, or you just keep it really light?
Well, it's kind of like different with every guest. I've had friends on, and I've had a lot of strangers on that I kind of know, or I've heard of, and so it's kind of like what they want to talk about. But honestly, I try not to if I find out they're like, oh, my parents died, and I'm like, I'm sorry to hear that, and then I try to move to I don't want to get too in detail, because I've had tragic things, and I know what it's like to go on to like shows, and then like someone's like, oh, let's talk about that the whole time. And you're like, I don't know, man. People aren't going to want to watch my comedy if I'm just like, or like, whatever they're trying to promote at the time. So it's, I try to keep it lighter, but it definitely does get detailed. I get detailed on things. Like I will ask detailed questions of like what they do. Like, break it down for me. How do you do this? How do instead of just being like a late night show where you're like, oh, here's a funny story, and I'm also an actress. I try to get more of like, how did you do it? Type of attitude, because I know that's why people listen to it. They want to learn. So I try to make it that way, like a learning process.
That's cool. So what can we expect from you from the future? Now, a lot of comedians, before you get to that, a lot of comedians, for example, their hope and their goal and their desire is to either get a TV show or maybe act in film, something like that, or both. Is that something that you want in the cards? And also, what can we expect?
Well, I've been all year, I've been preparing to record an hour, and then I'm going to put it together nicely in a nice package, and then I'm going to approach Netflix about it and go that route, because I know they'll buy things, for $20 or whatever, but it's exposure, and I like the idea of, I always like doing things for free, that's why my podcast is free, everything I do on YouTube's free, all that stuff. Like, I love free content, so right. I want to do the hour and try to make it available and free as possible, and so that's something I'm kind of like really pushing towards. And then like, honestly, I like performing, and I like going on the road, and I like doing that. Sure, if a TV show happens, it happens, but I'm not. Stand-up is my job, and that's like what I like to do. So whatever I can do to continue doing that. So like, if it's a spot on Conan, or or doing some other stuff to kind of help me carry along my career, then sure, I'll do those. But I'm really just focused on being a better stand-up more than being like a face on TV. So
really, you don't want to be the awkward teenager, in a movie, or the best friend.
I have a friend that's on like MTV and plays like a high school student, and he's my age. So he's like 20. I don't know. Not really. Not really. Not really for me.
You don't want to be the main character's asshole sidekick. You don't want to be,
Like, if it's something I can do in a weekend, if it's a movie or whatever, then they're like, yeah, just some lines. I'm like, why not? But like a show, I don't know. That seems like a lot of work.
Now, one thing too that's so great about the era that we live in now is that we have opportunities to put our own content out there. Mm-hmm. It's a lot cheaper than it was back in the past. You can use shoot digitally.
Yeah.
So are you taking advantage of this as far as your comedy is concerned?
Yeah, I think like I was like a quick adapter to YouTube, right? Like right when YouTube came out, I already was uploading videos on my own website, and I was having servers crash and stuff because you can only get like 20 views.
Right.
Before, like bandwidth was nothing back then, and so then I like took advantage of YouTube and I started uploading, and I really found like an audience right away that way, like in posting out of MySpace, my videos and all that stuff. And then, but like most recently, I take advantage of like Snapchat. And then what I do is like I'll do, cause you can only record for 10 seconds on Snapchat. And so what I do is called 10-second jokes. And it's my version of Twitter, but with jokes. So it's a setup and a punchline. And then I started taking those videos and I put them on Instagram. And once I put them on Instagram, people like loved them, and that's where my whole audience is on Instagram. So I'm like, forget YouTube, forget Twitter now. Like I mostly just focus on Instagram because I feel like I found my voice there. I found like people what they enjoy, and people like quick jokes. They're like, oh, that's funny. Just like see ya, like move on. But yeah, like I feel like out of any comic I know, I'd always take advantage of it the most. Like I'd really try to like make videos on there as much as possible. So
yeah, there's people that are getting deals and stuff from their Instagram, Snapchat, whatnot. So why not, right? Why not, Zach? Right?
I'm trying, yeah, man. Why not?
All right. So if somebody wanted to get in contact with you in social media, or find out if they can get one of your wonderful grilled cheese sandwiches, how can they do so? You have a website, and what's your social media?
Yeah. So you can always go to zacklyman.com. That's always available, and it's free. And if you go there, there's also links to my Instagram and all that other stuff, and my podcast. If you don't really like websites and you're just more mobile, you can always do my Instagram, Zack Lyman Podcast. And then you can follow me there, shoot me a message, be like, I'm stalking your page and hopefully getting grilled cheese. If you send me that message, I'll probably send you a picture of a grilled chease.
Oh, that is evil. Evil. Unless you plan on sending it overnight, that is evil.
But if you're in the local area, maybe I'll give you a hint of where I am and where grilled cheeses are.
All right. And what's the next thing we should look out for you with?
So I have some big stuff happening. I'm a little late on it, as most comedians are, but this week I'll be releasing an episode of my new podcast, and I interviewed a writer for Conan, and it's a really good interview. Brian Kiley, he's worked for Conan since the beginning, and such a good guy. Honestly, like one of the best interviews. So that'll be coming out, and then right after that, I have like a couple other like really big guests that are going to be popping in, and and then watch out for my hour. Like I'll be recording it very soon. So.
And where's the next place that we can see you do stand up live?
Well, if you're in Arizona and you're watching this right now, you can actually see me Friday at DeSoto's headlining. And then I'm also doing a birthday show in September 18th. I'm doing my own birthday. It's really easy to book when you go, come on, man, it's my birthday. The club's like, okay, fine. Like, so I'm doing a birthday. And then pretty soon I'll be heading on tour. And I'm actually trying to put together a tour of where I live in the food truck as I go on tour. So I got to set up the logistics of sleeping where you cook, but I'll figure it out, and I'm going to be on tour, and you'll also be able to get my grilled cheese at every show.
And make it a documentary as well.
Yeah.
Just make sure you shut off the griddle before you lay down on it to sleep.
Yeah.
Oh, are you going to come to LA anytime soon?
I think I'll be in LA in October. I should be
That's why
there.
I'll be in Atlanta in the end of October.
I'll be I'll be there like October. It's gonna. I think it's like the 15th to the 18th, and I'll be doing some shows there. So, okay, cool. And then straight from there, I'll be doing some shows in Vegas. So it's like a week of just most likely not being sober and hang out with some friends. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun like short
Away
tour.
from the money ranch.
Yeah.
All right, Arpo, how can we get you social media and such?
Well, you can always reach me on my Facebook page at Richard Pochard, and you can find me skulking around the pages of the movies Underground. And I don't know, maybe someday I'll start paying attention to my Twitter account again. I don't know, too many people got a hold of it. And, no, I don't want Viagra. So,
If I start tweeting at you, then you'll start paying attention, won't you?
Hey, I have Twitch now, babe.
Well, send me an invite. They're Twitch friends now. Send me an invite.
No, does he have a Twitch or Twitch?
Yeah.
Well, I'm always at the Twitch, but
It might be from all the Viagra. I know you said no, but
All right, Kitty, how can people get you social media? And also, are you going to be doing any streaming?
Actually, you missed out on streaming the last few days.
Oh.
But you can catch me on twitch.tv, twitch.tv/kittycat, that's cat with a K, 8587. I'm trying to get my work schedule figured out, so hopefully I'll be streaming more in the evenings and on my days off. I'm hoping to have Wednesday, Thursdays for days off. No guarantees until I actually get a set schedule with my company. You can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/kittycat. That's again with a K, 8587. My real name is Shantae. Don't try to pronounce it if you don't want to butcher it. If you do try to pronounce it and butcher it, trust me, I've heard worse. And then you can catch me on Twitter. And you can follow me at kittycat851987.
All right, 1987. All right, you can get me at Kente F, and you go to the website at indyradio.org. That's indyradio.org. And next week, right here on the Spotlight, we'll be doing the films of the 90s. So we're going to do all of our top 10 lists of the 90s films. And also Monday is the return of Men and Women Talk the Mars Venus show. It's at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. We'll be debuting my new co-host, Rasheem. And our guest will be Denzel Hurd and fellow comedian Danny Redwine. And the topic will be the friend zone. So that should be very interesting. I'm glad to see how this will turn out. With all that said, we will see you next week. And you guys have a great weekend. Peace.